Good idea.
Yeah, it's always a good idea.
Yeah.
We've been starting our mornings like that here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel more inclined to do it up here. This sounds so fucking stupid, but because no one can hear us, you know?
Yeah.
Same thing with like when we're in the sauna. Like,
Yeah.
I love singing in there and chanting in there, but in my apartment, I feel inappropriate doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah, when we're not in the city, I realize how self-conscious we are about how, like, we obviously blast music
Right.
but generally,
Even when we do that, it's still, there's always a little tingle in your spine of like, oh, God, I would hate being my neighbor right now.
And it's not quite as loud as you would blast it.
Yeah.
Like you're blasting it, but there's always that limit.
Yeah.
Neighbor limit.
I think it's most notable, not to get too juicy from the beginning, but when you have sex, that's when you can really, like, because I feel like I've been having quiet sex for like 10 years, and then it's like you can be up and somewhere louder, and it's like, oh, you can be a little louder, and you don't feel uncomfortable about it. And I don't know why I'm try to be quiet during sex, because when my neighbors are having sex, I find it so exciting.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, shh.
Some people hate it. I see, that What Is New York Instagram. They always put up notes like people leave on each other's doors, like stop having sex so loud, all this shit. I've heard people have sex like 3 times ever in New York City, and like you said, it's pretty exciting. It's cool.
It's not obnoxious when it's not happening all the time, and it's not like blood curdling or whatever.
I think we put our neighbor through hell. That girl knows more about us. Come on, Mary. Mary, don't be modest. That girl doesn't know too much about us.
She does know too much.
That wall is paper thin. I hear her like whispering in the other room.
Opening the microwave and stuff.
I don't like to think about it.
I don't like to think about it either. Trust me. But it's not until we're up here in a situation like that I'm like, whoa, man, what the hell am I doing to my consciousness all the time by like living in a cramped space with people? Oh God, I don't want them to hear me, this and that.
As a musician, you're like,
You've had to get over that.
You come to this New York struggle. It's like crazy.
Yeah.
This diminishment of space. I actually was thinking about that when we were chanting and thinking about somebody talking to me about having a hard time chanting, and that it was how most people have a hard time singing this, that they weren't really letting themselves make noise. Like they were chanting, but they were like too nervous to make noise in the room. Like they were explaining their experience, so they're more quiet, and they said they always felt more stressed out after they chanted. I said, it's impossible. Yeah. Our body is like the most complicated technology in the world. I really don't know much about it, but the one thing I know is it's impossible if you chant and attune to a frequency to not be that frequency, because all we are is frequency. There's
no way to feel worse after that, basically.
But your ego is so powerful that if your ego the whole time is shaming you for making noise.
Right. Well, yeah. The reason why it makes you feel so amazing, because you're tuning to this frequency and you're that frequency, is the diminishment of ego, I think. But when you don't it's so interesting, that process, that if you don't let your ego exist, that if you're too nervous to take up space in the multiverse and the universe, it not only will not make you feel better, it'll make you feel worse. It'll put you in a shame chamber, because your spirit is so upset at you for diminishing your existence. Your body feels disrespected. There's all of that going on.
Oh man.
So taking up space is like obviously a huge conversation in my life. Even in my, because I was a very loud singer when I first started singing, and I can't even really control it just because of the type of vocal cords I have. So it was like a process of learning how to get quieter and not have that be like a process of getting quieter. You know what I mean? Empowering, but still,
No, and have it be an artistic decision, not I live in New York City decision.
Oh yeah, an artistic decision. And but even when I'm like practicing my music, when I'm running through songs in my apartment, even if I'm just running through them, not recording them, when I record them, I'll do them a lot. I know that some neighbors will hear me.
Yeah.
There's like parts of songs, sometimes like not really, but even my guitar, and I'm playing to them an unplugged in electric guitar, which you'd be like, how could you hear that? But you're in New York City and the walls are so thin, and you have to just get over this, like, okay, they're going to hear me do this janky version 27 times,
my God.
and really take up space and take, and know that not everyone's going to receive it well, you know,
Mm-hmm.
even if you nailed it and whatever you're doing, you know, and it's very scary.
Well, when we first met you, you had built a closet.
Oh, yeah, I almost forgot about that. Yeah.
You built a room, like a sound booth inside your apartment.
Yeah, I built a silent room.
Yeah.
Where I could go scream. They originally built them for drums. It's this Texas company, and they're these, complete soundproof walls that you put up. And I put it up myself with the help of another tattooer friend, and really built it out. It ended up being too small of a space to even record in, like when I was recording, which, things you don't learn until you're a buffoon like me and do them.
Yeah.
But it was really good for me for the time that it was in my apartment, which I'm trying to calculate how long that was, maybe like a year and a half or something.
But I mean, it
or 2
gave
years.
you space to.
It gave me the space
belt.
I needed in that time until I could get to a place where I could control the dynamics enough. You know? So yeah, no, it was good for me, but it was very liberating to tear that thing down. Just talking about space, it felt like this, like I'm literally coming out of the closet, you know, like tearing down this closet thing and being like, my neighbors are gonna hear me sometimes, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, because I like the sounds that I'm making, and I believe in the music I'm making, or whatever. So yeah, that was the process.
You don't want the shape of your space to be a tiny box just that barely fits
just
you.
a little closet
Come
black
on.
room.
Come on, you can't do that to yourself.
Yeah. Taking up space.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's the other conversation, and something that like was an epiphany for me, and I'm still unpacking, is how to like even take up space sexually. Like when I like I remember, I don't know, maybe Dan Savage or something was like, "Yo, you want to be greedy in the bedroom. Like you want to be selfish, and you want a partner who's selfish, because if you're not selfish and saying like, "Hey, this is what gives me pleasure," or "This is what I need," like I want a partner who tells me what they need. So why wouldn't I want to be that partner to somebody else, you know? And that kind of can be its own way of taking up space, where you're like, oh, especially as someone who wants to naturally be like more of a giver, to that like part of giving is being open to receiving. Yeah. And that is the gift, is like, okay, I'm going to just receive this pleasure because maybe someone else likes giving too, you know?
Definitely.
I think it's so hard to, I don't know, take up space these days. And like sex is such a vulnerable place, and it's such a, man, it's an interesting facet to apply this to, because I think we can so easily get into bad habits in general, but especially sexually, because you're so vulnerable, you know? So it's like you find something that works for you young, and you just stick to that your whole life, and you don't open up or
well,
try
how
new
many
things.
times have you heard about people, like girls or men, being like, oh, my girlfriend doesn't let me go down on them, or girls being like, oh, I just don't like that.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I mean? And I think that was like, especially as a young woman who's like knows about porn and stuff, like there's all this like crazy self-conscious stuff that becomes like a block from experiencing pleasure, because you're so much in what are they experiencing? Do they like this? And I think that's where also like opening my attraction to women has allowed me to like be more comfortable in my own body too, because at first I was like, oh, who would even want to go down there, or you know what I mean? Or it's kind of like there's a lot of
that's an interesting thing, is like opening up to other women has helped you love yourself more. Like you love female body so much that you've learned to love your body more.
Yeah, rather than like feel guilty that I have a partner who's like trying to go down there, you know what I mean? Or just feel guilty about receiving, which I feel like is like a very familiar trap for especially women who like maybe have unrealistic ideas of standards, or you know, the male orgasm happens faster or whatever it is, that it can just like be hard to prioritize. And I think that's kind of a big revolutionary switch that's been happening, is that it's becoming common knowledge that, you know, women's pleasure is accessible. And if you have a girlfriend who says she doesn't like to orgasm, like it's important to work with them to transcend that energy, because that's all it is. It's like a blockage.
Yeah. Man.
Sorry, I'm going juicy and deep on this one. I don't know.
I love it.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. Yeah, receiving can be a difficult thing, and I think you're right. Like remembering how amazing it feels to give is such a good out for that. You know, when you feel trapped in that.
Oh yeah, that's a good little hack.
Yeah, it's like if you're chanting and it's making you embarrassed, it's like, don't you appreciate that other people are really getting into it so you can like kind of ride their wave?
Totally.
And that you want to like be part of this like vibration that you guys tap in together, and it's like
Yeah. 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 Receiving things. Sometimes I think with sex too, and people have a hard time being present. It's almost like a aversion to letting go and giving yourself to somebody, and like the sacrifice of the ego in that moment too. Sometimes our ego wants to hold on so much that can block orgasm itself.
Yeah.
Because when you orgasm, it's kind of, and you're present, it's like you're giving yourself to that person in that moment, the mini death or whatever. Wish I knew what it was in French that everybody keeps referencing.
le petit. Le petit.
I call it micro deaths. everyone loves the word micro these days.
They do.
I just fucking add it to the beginning of anything and it makes it sound cool. Yeah, definitely. But it is micro death for sure.
Yeah.
And it is kind of like tripping in front of somebody, like having a hard trip in front of somebody. You're momentarily losing yourself or who you think of as yourself.
Yeah.
And that's an extremely vulnerable place to go with other people. And I think it's why more and more we're hearing about people that like can't orgasm or can't orgasm in general with themselves or with a partner.
Right.
And God damn. That would be a huge indication, I don't know, to me that, like, I should fucking do some deeper work, maybe take some mushrooms or fucking watch Gwyneth Paltrow's show, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Love, sex, and goop.
Yeah, we're big. Well, I've never seen it, but.
And we're in like a very, one of the most open sexual relationships that you could possibly have. And then there's all these people that have to traverse taking up sexual space who aren't in a relationship and trying to find sexual space in the world with strangers and feel safe in that. And it's just like, it's even difficult when there's like a perfect playing field of safety. And
that is worth saying. It's difficult to traverse no matter what, but it is almost about taking sovereignty over your sexuality and being proud of it.
Yeah.
And putting it out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy sometimes, but yeah, putting it out there and putting out there what you need and learning how to take up space in that way and hoping it translates into better experiences.
Yeah.
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 Better ohms.
Yeah. And I wish I could remember Star's quote that you read. I've been trying to remember it over here exactly so I wouldn't butcher her language because she's got really great language. But
I don't remember what we're talking about.
Well, yesterday in the kitchen, you read me something that Star tweeted about the presence of a man and the depth of a woman's orgasm. And I thought it was a very astute and interesting.
It wasn't. She didn't write it. She
referenced it. Yeah.
It was basically, and I don't even know how I can wrap my head around this, but basically the depth of an orgasm that a man can give a woman has to do with his presence, and his presence has to do with the his ability to process grief.
Right.
And a man's ability to process grief basically translates to his ability to give women those deep, life-shattering orgasms.
Yeah.
That everyone deserves. Every woman deserves those, but they probably haven't had access to them from men.
Yeah.
You know?
But I think there's a lot. Yeah, and I think the grieving is probably the most interesting part about that. But even the presence of a man and the depth of her orgasm, like the first part about that, sorry, I have a scratch in my throat. I even just think there's a lot of sort of micro ethereal scarring that can go on with people that have a lot of unpresent sex, and that because people are much more psychically connected and aware of the psychic connection they have than they even really acknowledge, that we can get ingrained into this pattern of thinking we don't deserve love and to reach an orgasm because the people that we're with aren't with us. You know? And that brings up its own grief processing for the woman. And then, the next part about grief is a little bit hard to totally wrap your head around, but the more that I do, it gets more delicious, you know?
Yeah.
My mom always said, you got to be careful who you let make you come, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
'Cause you can kind of form attachments and bonds and based on that connection.
And then you let me in your life.
You got to be careful both directions. You got to be careful who you let make you come and then who you make come.
I was just reading.
Yeah.
I was just reading this Reddit thing about this woman who was just like, I had a Tinder date make me come 4 times in one night, harder than my last boyfriend did ever in 2 years, and I'm finding myself attached to this person that I basically just spent one night with. Like, can someone help me? You know?
And he ghosted her.
No, not even ghosted her. She was just like alarmed by the amount of feelings that were coming along with that. You know, I think we've all been there. You know, it's usually an exciting thing. Yeah.
Yeah, no, sexual chemistry, it feels very like solid in connection that you can't ignore it. So when you have something like that happen and you're so open to somebody and you reach like these, it's like, you're like, it can't be random. Like we should keep doing that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's interesting. Yeah, and then I think there's dynamics that we can't even understand just in people's bodies that make you more open to an orgasm with somebody.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just astrology, you know, but I think there are certain things that just like certain people you're more open to, you know, whether you want to be or not. Or
Do you think astrology should be more part of like, I think I know I have a friend who's actually developing a dating site that's like based on astrology, but I'm wondering if you think it's like, cause you looked up our charts before we got together. Like, do you think it's very vital? Like it can save you a lot of time and heartache or prepare you for it or...
Yeah, I don't like it in a yes, no sort of a fashion or even a compatibility sort of a fashion because I think the best relationships require tension. And so when you're doing synastry charts and you're laying them on top of each other, you're looking for like perfect harmony. That's not necessarily what you want to be. That's not necessarily what relationship is in this lifetime, but I think it's incredibly helpful if you're already in relationship to bring more understanding and more language to what's going on.
Like you shouldn't use it to pick your partner, but you could use it to pick apart your partner.
Exactly. Exactly. And if you guys are having issues, like there's really, you can do synastry and say, oh, well, your Mercuries are square each other and there's always going to be attention and communication, and you can choose to express that however you want to express that, but it needs to express itself. And that's like the beauty of the awareness of astrology. If you know that there's an angular thing, you can it's crazy. It's like the whole idea of will comes into everything because of it. You know, it's like, oh, can I direct force that's happening in the universe? But yeah, so I do think it's important for dating, but basically once it's already happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't ever ex-nay somebody because of a placement. You never know.
But maybe you should be careful if you let them make you come.
Definitely. Well, and in that process, like not just who they are, but like the process of coming, like the experience of it, just like every experience shapes us. And it's because it's so much more intimate and vulnerable, it shapes us in deeper ways than other things do in our life.
I think every person you have sex with probably leaves a lasting karmic imprint on you.
Yeah.
And, you know,
the way that people receive you, like the way you're received by somebody is like shapes the way you view yourself. And even if it's not happening on the physical plane during sex and it's happening in the mental plane during sex, you're experiencing that. Yeah.
You got to be careful who you do it with. But at the same time, from what I'm hearing...
Or don't, and be frivolous.
Well,
some things, either way works for people, right?
Well, you should look at your own chart, though, and see if you're good.
Are you naturally slutty or not?
Oh, totally. I think...
Can you hold that karmic weight? Sorry, Sean, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, from what I hear, I feel like the kids these days are like not having sex. You know what I mean? They care less, way less. And I don't know what the hell is what you would chalk that up to, but maybe them knowing enough to be like, no, you know what I mean? Just like understanding how crazy and deep of a thing that is to do with somebody.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think that the best thing you can do, and I don't know when I developed this skill, but I almost feel like everyone has it right away, is like knowing who I'm going to have sex with, like as I meet them. It's crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I could meet the most attractive woman I've ever seen, but like, you know, and want to have sex with her, but I can tell, I know, you know, it's like an energetic thing that can happen. It's like a future memory comes down or something.
Yeah.
But the second we met you, and it wasn't even in person, the second we met you on a Zoom call, I was like, oh shit, damn, we're about to fucking do this. This is crazy. And then it's so fun to see how it it ends up playing out.
Yeah.
Yeah. It becomes like this drawn out foreplay thing. It wasn't that drawn out for us. I think we all understood we were going to get down to business, and we got down to business.
Yeah. Yeah, we're all very intuitive and I think trusting of our pheromones and chemistry and stuff. Because some people we know are like so much more logically minded about relationship and
Yeah.
Yeah,
But don't you
I don't-
think everyone has that ability, like to kind of sniff it out psychically?
Well, my thing is always that I'm most of the time I'm logical, and you have this situation specifically that like I could not think. The feeling was overwhelming, and so I couldn't process it through logic. It was just like, oh, the connection, it ripped me apart or whatever. I think I always say that to people if they're talking logically about a relationship, like, oh, it's never gonna work because of this, and it's like the right person will knock down all those walls, those bullshit plaster
and
walls
they
you
should.
put up. You know what I mean?
And they should. And if
In an
they don't,
instant, too,
and if they don't come along like the big bad wolf blowing down your little piggy house, like they might not be the thing for you.
Yeah.
If
you only see them on weekends and you don't see them during the week.
Yeah. I remember.
And you're already worried about
if you're cool
moving in.
not seeing them until Saturday, and even then you could skip every few Saturdays, there might not be your life partner.
Sorry, we're doing inside jokes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh man, it made me think of something though. Damn.
Sorry.
Damn.
Yeah.
I'll come back to it if I remember it.
Yeah, very undeniable. And I mean, I don't know if it's fair to say like kids are less good at feeling into that. They're probably just together physically less these days.
I mean, there's like a physical distance that's happened. Then like
it's like you're on your phone when you're together, so there's like that.
Well, then it's also like, okay, I want to have sex with you, but do I want to deal with the idea that I have an STD 3 weeks from now, and then having to go to a doctor and deal with COVID?
I'm just talking about. I'm talking about generationally. I'm not even talking about in the past couple of years. I think it's just trending less from what I've heard.
Yeah.
Well, I think Sean.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say. But say your thing because I'll remember it.
Okay. Well, I was going to talk about dead bedrooms and how that's a thing and how it really requires at least one partner to prioritize sex because I think there's been times like where I've been really stressed if I look at our 10-year relationship and I've been like less sexually online and Sean's had to like kind of hold the flame like, hey, sex is important in partnership, like let's have it. And every time we initiate sex, by the time we're having sex, I love it.
Right.
And I have the best time, but sometimes you can have a partner who's like a little floaty and I'm like a hamster on a wheel. And I think this is kind of probably pretty normal too, is to like the stress of life or bills or whatever it is to have you kind of not prioritizing that connection. But if one partner is like, yo, we need to do this, the other partner's, what's not to love about sex? It's so pleasurable if you can slow down for a second. It's about carving out that space to slow down, though. And I think that's just, I was just going to say that that's important because you hear it so often that this happens where we have friends who have broken up and they're like, yeah, we had sex like once every 3 months for like 3 minutes because it wasn't like made a priority. And it really
fucking breaks my heart, I've very recently had a few people post breakup talk about basically a dead bedroom situation within the relationship, and at that point I'm just like, well, what were you doing? Like you're just besties at that point,
Well, it's also something that it's consensual. Like you allow a dead bedroom to come out because you can say that like, hey, connecting in this way with the person I love is an important thing to me, and if like I think you can stop it in its tracks before it gets there. And I think that we're
it takes is just like that little bit of just that moment of uncomfortable communication that inevitably you never think about that uncomfortable moment again because it moves so much energy,
Yeah, being willing to move that energy. Anyway, I think I've gotten to the end of that. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to talk about just building off what Mara was saying about how while we were broken up, I remember she was calling me like late at night. And like she was freaking out basically about being in love with us, like that it was an uncomfortable feeling and felt out of control. And I was just like, I'm pretty sure that's why they call it falling in love. And I'm pretty sure no one would voluntarily fall. You know what I mean? Like it's a really good way to describe the feeling, especially to a logically minded person who, spent 4 or 5 years actively rejecting.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like you didn't have your opportunities. You worked at a fucking tattoo shop and you're a hot chick. Like,
yeah.
So, yeah, I remember like having to be like, I think this is part of it. I don't know. Maybe we're just driving each other insane, but I think this is just that's what falling in love feels like. And it shocks the system for real. But because it's raising your frequency and your ego likes things the way it was.
Yeah.
It set things up this way. It likes them. What are
Yeah.
you doing destroying this household?
Yeah.
With all this love coming in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it shakes the foundation of who you are. And it's going to start changing who you are. And beautiful fucking roses and daisies are going to grow out of fucking that cold, hard foundation that used to be there. And the ego doesn't like it. So, you know, there's this fight that starts to happen when you're falling in love between the ego and the heart. And, you know, I'm pretty sure that's all that show Sex and the City's ever about is like, do I love him? Do I not? I've never even seen the show. But, like, that's, you know, it's like chicks talking to each other about, like, am I in love? Or is it real this time? Or is it not? Or whatever, you know. Probably just overly dramatizing and confusing the situation that pretty much anyone could sniff out, literally.
Yeah.
If you have a sense of smell after this pandemic. Don't they say that like you can like just get a good smell of someone's natural scent and pretty much know where you stand with them?
Well, that's a good dating technique is just smelling a bunch of used T-shirts.
Hell yeah, why not?
But now everybody's on hormones, so all their
Well, yeah,
pheromones
they say women on birth control lose that ability.
Yeah, to be able to smell the correct partner.
Oh,
to
well,
be hooking
yeah.
up with.
There's some crazy study that was done about the amount of breakups that happen post a woman quitting that form of birth control, you know. And so many breakups when they do studies about why it happens. One of the things, not the thing, but one of the things is like, I just stopped being attracted to his smell or her smell or whatever like that.
Yeah, it's very important.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's all predetermined, I think is what we're talking about. But there's ways to decode it. And there's ways to psychically decode it. There's ways to smell it out or whatever. I don't know. I think that there's a feeling, but you have to try to catch it when you first meet somebody. Because after that it gets distorted with what your relationship becomes and how you're relating with each other.
Yeah.
But I think there's a way to know who your sexual partners will be as you meet them.
Yeah.
If you have your shit together.
Yeah, I always said that dating apps should somehow be able to hook up some smelly thing.
Yeah.
Smell-a-thon, smell-o-vision.
Yeah. Well, I mean, don't you think another humongous factor is just getting off on the same shit, like being into the same music and drugs? Like, don't you think that's a huge thing?
See, but what we're talking about is kind of antithetical to that idea.
Well, that's why I'm saying
which is the idea of online dating, which is that you can logically mind your partner. And I've had so many, I shouldn't say so many. I've had a handful of people that to me are perfect. If you were to ask me perfect partner, like word for word resume people come into my life that I could not for the life of me be attracted to. And I was furious for years at myself for like specific people like, Mare, why can't you get it together? Like this person is everything you want them to be.
Hot musicians, like artists, fucking tattooed people. And then meanwhile, two scrubbelos. Two scrubbelos, no tattoos, fucking barely know how to play a janky ass guitar.
I'm just saying. You can't logically mind this thing. And that's why I think online dating doesn't work, is because like as much as I'd like to say like, yes, the fact that you take acid and, you know, listen to the same music that I like does not mean my body's going to like your body. And I don't even mean body the way that we, you know, vanity body. I just mean pheromonally, physically, chemistry wise. And it's something we can't control. We can't control who we get magnetized to and start spinning around.
It's got to be the sparkles.
It's got to be the sparkles.
Hell yeah. They got to have that razzle dazzle.
Yeah.
The sparkle in their eye.
Totally.
Yeah. The glitter. Dripping in glitter.
Rainbow aura.
Fuzzy rainbows fucking surrounding me all the time. Just a vapor cloud of just fuzzy rainbow sexy pheromone smell.
Yeah, it's like
I don't wear deodorant.
It's a resonance thing. It's a frequency thing.
I don't wear deodorant.
I know. You smell good all the time.
But I mean, I think that it's like a trope. I hear people all the time being like, yo, my friend doesn't wear deodorant. You believe it? And I'm like, I don't know. I think if anyone would tell me, y'all would tell me, like, put on some deodorant.
Yeah.
But
we would.
Yeah.
You smell good.
Yeah. We've told Joey to put on deodorant. He also doesn't wear deodorant. We're like, you have to put on deodorant. we have told him, we're like, dude, we're shooting a thing today. You have to wear deodorant. Like, you can't walk around like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Well,
Most
some
dudes
girls
are
gonna
smart.
really appreciate that he doesn't wear deodorant because they're meant to really. So they're gonna like find him in a grocery store and start chasing him around.
Yeah.
Oh my God, there used to be this scent that was like this really cheap cologne, and
High karate.
so it was just, I don't know what they put in it, but I would literally follow people around like CVS or something.
That's hilarious.
I was like a little tween,
Yeah.
like an adult man. And of course it's just some like whatever,
Was
you know.
it a obsession for men?
I have no idea what it
Calvin
was,
Klein.
but it just like, it clicked for some reason. And I
Yeah.
was just like, what is
Was
that?
it cool water?
I
I have no idea.
Dracar Noir?
Okay.
I bet you could realize it for your friends too, not just like lovers, I bet
Mm.
that's like how you resonate with friends also expresses itself through your cells, through like smell and other senses.
You know the friend thing actually it's probably it's a whole shifting gears, but the friend thing confounds me more. Why you end up being friends with who you're friends with. The sex thing is like so primal and basic, and it's already happened, and like, but who you end up friends with and like choosing to spend your time with is such a weird, mysterious thing. You know, when you look around at your friend group at any given moment and be like, wow.
It is.
This is who stuck around.
And then sometimes when I'm like on a bunch of drugs or like really high frequency, it can start to make like perfect sense.
Yeah.
You know, they're all
yeah.
just like these expressions of parts of myself that are missing that needed to come into my life, and not to
Oh
like
my God. When-
self-send to everything, but you can definitely come to places of, I feel like eerily, creepily understanding,
Yeah.
why it always comes through why somebody's bothering me.
Mm.
When I start to like doubt why I should have a relationship with somebody or what's tense about it, if I just think about it for a second, I'm like, oh yeah, it's making me better in this way, and I called it in this way. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you want to fill up one of these bags?
Sure.
Cool.
Hakuna Matata.
It's our problem.
Philosophy.
We're back. Are we back?
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool, we're back.
I had a midday Oreo.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was thinking we were talking about friends and why we're friends with who we're friends with before we stopped.
I love this conversation.
Yeah, it's a really trippy thing. Because we had a really fun time up here. We had everyone come up and play instruments with us and fucking jam out. And that was our third or fourth Ghost Pipe gathering, the gathering of our band Ghost Pipe.
Yeah.
And you guys talked about it on the Patreon. You guys did a Patreon episode called Girls Club.
Girls Club.
Yeah.
Oh, Mary and I are going to write a song for Girls Club, a little intro diddly.
You need a
I'm
Girls Club
informing
song.
her of this
First
now.
time hearing of it, but I'll get it together.
Yeah. Girls Club is a great new podcast starring Marin Cass on patreon.com/Church of Chill.
Yeah.
You guys talked more in depth about this, but
Yeah, not
basically,
super in depth, but yeah.
But basically, we had some friends come over,
Yeah.
crash here. We all started taking acid at like 10 in the morning. And little by little, it's a fun way to take it. None of us went through like the crazy come up of acid.
Yeah.
We just took like 2 micros, half hour later, 2 micros, half hour later, 2 micros.
Yeah.
And it was good. Played some of the best music I've ever heard. Some of the funniest songs I've ever heard. Our band's better than ever. All of the players in our band are better than ever.
You play the vape bag.
I play the vape bag and sometimes the guitars.
Yeah, it was so fucking fun.
But when we're so connected and we're all playing music and everyone has the biggest smile on our face and we're all laughing together, I'm like, this is why we're friends with these people. You know what I mean? No holdouts. Not one holdout in the whole room. There's 8 or 10 of us over here.
Well, and it's such a perfect dynamic. Like any way that we're unbalanced, like somebody else in the room carries that balance.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels like everyone clicked in such a perfect, nice, like, jigsaw puzzle type of way.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
just felt so good.
It always seems to be the case.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a weird experiment.
I kind of like that it's a mystery because, like, yeah, we could make everyone take their Myers-Briggs and put up everybody's birth chart and probably find out that there's a good balance of campaigners versus adventurers versus whatever.
Or we've all been traumatized in very similar ways by our parents, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, no, it was funny. There's a woman who sent out an email recently saying, requesting people to apply for a position. It seems like an assistant position, and she's like a healer. And she says, like, please take your Myers-Briggs and need not apply campaigners, which I'm pretty sure you're a campaigner. So it's like there's...
Fuck off. Trust me. You wish. That's why she has to put that on there, because she can't attract people like me. Yeah. So it's like, need not apply. God.
So funny.
Imagine being a spiritualist and having a little caveat as the, like, you know, who could apply. Like, can you imagine?
No.
We met this woman and unfortunately had her on our podcast a couple times. And off the podcast went on the worst racist tirades I've ever heard in my life.
Oh, no.
And cloaked it all in spirituality. And it was like, well, it speaks to what we're saying. It was like we were actually on the cusp of becoming friends with this person, and we decided not to.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were like, we can't go any further with this. This is destruction.
Ugh.
It's funny, though, because I don't think she's wrong. I just, like, it's, like, she's probably right. Like, campaigners are powerful people, and you don't want a powerful person as your assistant.
Right.
Like, you know, especially her. She's already established herself.
Right.
She's not looking to build up someone's career. She really wants someone to help build up hers.
Yeah.
So, like, it's very matter of fact, and it's just kind of... It's a funny thing.
It is. It is fucking hilarious.
And it's perfect that it really irritates Sean even, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's just look, it works for this moment. Like, I'm trying to be funny, but it really doesn't irritate me. Or she as a person just makes me laugh because she's ridiculous, you know?
So, like, how you know who your lover's going to be or who you're going to have sex with, I know that about friends the second that I meet them. And I've had a few different, like, being somebody who's moved around so much, this idea of friendship has always been on my mind. Like, why do I have the friends that I've had? Because I have several people that I've known my whole life that I haven't lived around for 10 years, 15 years, 19 years, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And why do I still stay friends with those people? And why is it the same every time I call them?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we meet these people and they're your polar opposite. And I'm like, that is not who I thought Mara would be introducing us to as a lifelong friend. Wow.
It doesn't feel like you choose.
Yeah.
And they're like this girl in Assisi, I remember meeting her in high school, and the second that we ran into each other at sign-in, like, I literally asked her if I knew her from somewhere in Europe, and we'd both were Europeans that moved to the States, and we're both in this high school in Houston, Texas. And we didn't, but it felt like that, like so intensely, this deep feeling that I had known her before. Wow. And then we were just, you know, best friends every day ever since. And I've had several people like that. And more it feels like, especially with the friends you guys have introduced me to, it feels like I meet people and I've already known them in a very creepy way. Yeah. There isn't this like, am I going to be friends with this person? It's like, great, like this person's my family, I guess. You know, like,
great, here's my new little brother. Fuck.
Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah.
And then other people, it's just random. I don't even think about it or have an association, but I get that experience a lot.
Yeah.
Recently.
Yeah, a certain level of recognition.
Another life.
Well, and if we're introducing you to them, we've gone through the gamut with them
Ooh,
already.
Right. So, like, you have a bunch of memories of them that I've tapped into or whatever.
If they've made it to the stage where they're meeting you, we've been through
but
some
still,
shit.
like, so deja vu.
Yeah.
Like, this has happened. I've seen this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's
fuck?
crazy.
It's weirder and weirder.
But it's okay, because it's like once you realize that with certain people, when you don't have that with someone, it's like, oh, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
You know what
We're
I mean?
not
Like,
entangled. That's
yeah,
easier.
We don't have to force it.
It's easier.
Yeah. It's why we became so open to just saying yes to, or we made a prayer. Basically, at some point, we were like, we don't have any friends. Fuck, we need friends. Let's have friends. And then the first portal to that was just like, well, people are trying to hang out with us all the time to pick our brain about filmmaking. Like, let's just say yes to everyone.
Yeah.
And instead of like going and meeting them for drinks and having some weird foggy night that I can't remember, like just come over in the day. And so we just started being open to that. And like, I think that led to what we have going now. The podcast really helped, but like initially it was just that. It was just like, fine. If someone asks if they want to hang out, they get one chance.
Yeah.
The podcast is definitely our way of trying to make friends, and it is come back like 10,000 fold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's very clear that this is, I mean, we really appreciate people who support us, and it's definitely goes very appreciated, but we do it because it's like allowed us to connect with people and feel not alone in this universe, and has been the best memories of our lives have happened with people that we've met because we've put ourselves out there in some vulnerable way, and someone's like connected with it and been like, oh, you guys are like on a similar page, and I live in the middle of nowhere and thought that other people don't feel like this or don't get enough of that. And that's where it just feels like, oh, okay, this is why we're doing it. You need it, we all need it. Let's just fucking find each other. Luckily, that's what this time has allowed for us, rather than just trying to force it with, you know, having a 2-year-old and their parents, the friends' parents, and stuff like that. You got to get creative when you don't have kids, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Or a job.
If you don't drink.
And you don't drink.
I mean, if you don't have kids, it's our responsibility to have the best time ever, you know. For the people that do have kids, we're like the monks are, we're holding a vibration. We have to hold a vibration.
That's my life path.
Yeah.
Path of the 7. I'm just holding it down for y'all.
Yeah, exactly. we're holding space in the party.
We're holding it up, I should say. I'm holding it up for y'all.
Yeah, exactly. We're holding it up. I'm holding it down. But I think, you know, what's fucking crazy and it's trippy about the podcast is like we met Mare and I felt like I already knew her because she heard our podcast and kind of knew us. Like it's not like that's not mutual.
You know me though. You're like feeling into the future.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We met a bunch of people in Malibu the other day and they all listened to the podcast and I'm like, I didn't know them, but I knew them. It was so. Didn't that feel like the same as us hanging out with our friends here? We never met any of them before.
Yeah.
That was just so wild, and I think it just has to do with they've listened to us, but it's not like it doesn't go both ways. It's not like we can't feel that.
Right.
And I think that's why we've been able to become instant friends with so many people.
Yeah.
Especially this deep into doing this. Like, we just get on here and just do our little transmission every now and then. And we found all of our friends through that. And, like, new adventures. Fucking the subject of our newest movie was a listener of this podcast. Like, you know what I mean?
It's getting weird.
Yeah, it's getting weird. Well, that's what we started to invest in. And you get what you invest in. We know how it is investing in negativity. I've been going through that. But I also know what it's like to invest in positivity and a really just a beautiful grand vision for your life that includes a lot of friends and music and wild nights and crazy sex and like all this stuff. Like, if you hold that in high regard, you will start to attune to being the person that can allow that thing to allow those things to take place. Yeah, and it's a bit of a process, but I'm some nerd and I have 2 hot girlfriends. And we have a wild life, and we just chase the music. That's pretty much it. We chase the music, and we serve the muse. And, I don't really know what's to explain that other than just me being myself more and more and being vulnerable and the right people attuning to that.
Yeah, I mean, once you start to feel the vibration of what it feels like to kind of be vulnerable and then get that in return, you're like, oh, why would I do anything else? You know, you're like, oh, yeah. You know, I think Ruben was talking about this the other day. He's like, I just started telling people what was going on with me. And I kind of found it from also like, certain people have influenced me. Janira, who she would do this thing, she'd do this goddess group, and she'd always at the beginning of it be like, it's like a full moon thing. Like, why don't you say whatever you need to say in order to land in this moment? And there was always like something that I had to say. Forget what everyone else had to say. What I had to say in order to like be more comfortable in my skin and in that moment. Like because there's always.
What's an example of something like that? Like what would people say?
I said this to Mare the other. I come up to Mare all the time and I'm like, hey, I'm thinking about this fucking email that I can't find. Like, Like, I just, like, will be going through things. Like, I'm like, I need to do something, but I need to find this email that someone sent me because they sent me information. In order to finish the budget that I need to finish, I need to find this fucking email, and I can't find it. And I'll say it to her because I'm like, you see a lot going on with me, and
That's
just, like,
what it is.
That's what it is. It's not that exciting. It's not that interesting. It's not that personal. But I'm kind of in the mud of, like, where the fuck is this fucking email? And it's, like, kind of, I try to be generous. And you go, yes. But you usually say something like, oh, I knew you were thinking about something.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, the last couple days, the last 3 days have been an exercise in that for me with looking for my lost boots. I couldn't find my boots since we hung out with all our friends.
Yeah.
And I spent 3 days looking for them. And I just had to keep giving you guys a heads up, like, just so you know, I'm in the mystery right now. That was our code language for it.
Yeah.
I'm deep in the mystery right now because we could not fucking figure out where the fuck these boots could be.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good thing to do. Like, just shoot up flares. You're out there stranded on a lifeboat of your fucking bullshit in your head, just shooting out flares to your partners. Like, here's where I'm at, and here's why it's not you.
Totally. Oh, man. And I've tried to hold it down about this subject, but losing things has been one of the most tumultuous subjects of my life.
It brings up adjective.
Lost a lot of things in my life. I've gone some of the most insane, spun the most out in my apartment all alone just by losing hair ties, because the insanity of buying hair ties and then not having any hair ties. Like, the hair ties don't matter. Who gives fucking rat's ass about hair ties?
Yeah.
But, like, just the illogicalness of it and the like, can just send me to the pits of hell. But I did have this one time, and always growing up, my mom and me would joke about the borrowers, like, stealing stuff from us,
The borrowers.
And so I always have, like, this delusional fantasy that demons are really stealing things from me. That got proven one time on a trip to Houston, Texas, which was that I obviously brought my debit card down there because I'm a regular human being who brings their cards with them. And I drive down to Texas, and the reason I know it was in Texas is because I have a receipt from that bank account for a coffee shop that's in Texas. But anyways, I lose the card there. I start looking for it. I don't find it there. I find it in a bag of clothes that I'm reorganizing, that I was going to give to Goodwill, that I put there like weeks before I left for Texas.
Oh, wow.
Like, deep in the bottom. To the point that I freak my mom out. I find it and I immediately start crying. I'm so creeped out about it on such a deep level. I'm like, this is a glitch in the Matrix. I'm Neo. I figured it out.
Whoa. Damn.
Things really are happening. And so there is, like, anytime something goes missing, I just have this little, like, okay, but maybe.
Deep in the mystery.
It really was an interdimensional trash panda that came.
That's fine.
We called forward the trash.
That's fine. I needed something. I needed a better
but we
story.
Found them. They landed in reality.
They're here.
3-dimensional explanation.
Yes.
Not complicated.
Yeah. They just got packed. They got packed in a band member's car. And whatever, by accident.
The most logical explanation.
Yeah. Thank God. Because at that point, 3 days of searching the same places, looking in places that it physically couldn't be. Like, literally, I would be like, let me look under this Zoom recorder. No, I'm not even fucking kidding you guys. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll start looking in places it would be impossible. It would be a glitch in the Matrix.
You stood on the kitchen table to look up in, like, the rafters. I was like, what are you doing?
I was just like, I've looked everywhere 37 times. I have to do this again. But I guess it was good for me. I guess it was like a cleansing thing. But at that point, I said to you guys at breakfast this morning, like, hey, I can't spend another day in the mystery. Can someone offer me, like, a story, like, even if it is fucking a mystical being? I just need something to let this go. I have to move on. I can't spend.
I almost brought up the mystical being, but I was like, we haven't gotten there yet.
We haven't gotten to the borrowers. The borrowers.
Or my interdimensional demon is really what I'm calling it.
Man.
Whoever stole my debit card.
Oh, my God.
And put it back in my apartment.
Losing things to me is much worse than them being stolen. I've had a million things stolen. I don't give a fuck. Okay, you needed it. I had it. I get it.
I lose things because I don't care about things. The problem is not that I care about the thing. I don't care about the thing.
See, I do. And that's what, like, it bothers you and I both get bothered by this very much.
Yeah.
But I'm bothered by it because I never lose anything.
Yeah.
Well, that's been a big tension in your guys' relationship because if something's lost, you're gonna blame Mare.
She's gonna be one of the usual suspects. I'll tell you that much. For no fault of your own. You know what I mean? There's certain things that could go down that I would be a usual suspect.
Mare's
in.
like innocently over at her apartment, just having a good time, and she gets a text every once in a while that's like, "Do you have my lighter?"
Ooh, the lighter is one of my favorite fulcrums of tension for Sean.
Yeah.
Because, and all these things, it's like, it wasn't good for you. It wasn't good for you to be mulling around the house, but I think if there was any focus of it, it was for you not to be mulling around the house. You know, it was like this weird thing where it's like, don't care about it. Like, don't care about it.
It was a meditation. It was a meditation on how empty my life can be when I feel like something's lost. I'm like, I literally can't think about anything else. I'm sorry. I have to keep looking around the same fucking places over and over again.
Well, you have like one pair of shoes and you broke them in, and it makes sense that in the middle of winter you want to know where your winter boots are.
I went to the fucking dart matching Crocs last night, goddammit. Luckily, two other players on my team were wearing Crocs anyway.
It was Croc team. Croc team.
It was.
Croc steady.
Yeah. Mowgli, come say hi.
He's like, nah.
Really, Mowgli?
All right.
You're not going to come over here? You don't be on camera?
He's going to give us side eye from afar.
He's giving us side eye. He's like, all right.
I'm going to meet that.
All right. He knows that I'm going to shock him every time he comes over because it's so staticky in here.
Mm.
Yeah, this couch is very electric.
Mm.
We've charged it up.
Cass, what are your fulcrums of tension? Do you ever lose anything?
My fulcrums of tension.
Emails sometimes, apparently.
Oh, yeah.
Email.
She'll lose an email.
I'll lose an email or like say something weird. Or if I send an email and there's a typo, oh, God.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I'm fucking so humiliated.
Yeah.
Or
It's
like,
like every single, there's like no emails that I write that don't have typos in them.
I care.
I like to set a really unprofessional stage.
I do too. I do the same thing.
It's like very intentional, and it's the opposite of how I started. I used to have like these page emails with like professional descriptions.
I would have perfect little
like,
sign offs.
I'd
I'd be cute. I would fucking take time to write them, and now I like purposely don't use punctuation or spacing or anything.
Always typos.
Yeah. It's like a text I'm sending to my friend, and I just CC Cass, and then she writes the proper email.
Yep.
Well, it just seems like you're gifted in that way, and I'm not, and I just have written enough emails in my life, I feel like, already.
It feels like a very important art of mine that I do.
Writing emails?
The way that I write emails, yeah.
Oh, man,
actually.
It's a big part of your business. You have to email with people.
Yeah, no, but the way that I do it so unprofessionally feels very important to me in my art. I'm being 1,000% serious. It's why I do it.
Yeah.
Because like professionalism is one of my least favorite words. That and politeness, and like it all just alludes to fakeness. Like we relate to each other how we relate to each other, and it should be in a high vibe, connected, fucking peace loving way, right?
Yeah.
And all of the like formalities. I don't do well with anything that's traditional. So anything that's professional and formal also has to do with tradition, right? And what somebody else said that you should be doing to have a certain level of respect at some other time that I'm not going to subscribe to or agree to and perpetuate. And it's really important for me not to perpetuate those.
You're such a manifester.
Yeah.
Did being a manifester give you a little clarity on some things, like when you were reading about the aura of the manifester and kind of conflicts you've had even with like some people in the shop or whatever it is?
Oh yeah.
So we all were looking into these things. I talked about
the human design.
The human design, and I said that Sean was a reflector, but he's actually like Kanye, a projector.
Yeah, they had a discussion about me and Kanye in Girls Club on Patreon.
Just two important men in our life.
Yeah.
Right now. Sorry.
I'm gonna fill this up again.
Again?
Yeah.
We're such stoners.
I know.
I love it.
Well, now that we're on the bag, I don't feel weird about it. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Not that I cared before, but.
Yeah. No, I want to meet somebody. Maybe we should talk to P the Fairy. I want to talk to somebody about human design. It has been validating reading this stuff about being a manifester. So.
What do we need in our group? we
A
should call it
reflector.
out.
Reflector.
Hey,
We need a reflector in the team.
if you're a dope reflector who
and
likes
you can make
smoking
music
weed,
or films.
yes,
What
or both.
What do you need? A sound guy, a lighting person, camera person?
Everyone,
We make good use of out of everybody.
anyone can be a sound guy. We can make them a sound guy. We can make them a camera person,
Okay.
a bassist, a fucking vibe holder. We just need a reflector. We want them to.
We need to complete the circle.
Yes.
Supposedly they're
We
pretty
need a
rare.
full team. They're
Yeah.
very rare. But yeah,
we
I
know
think
a
when
celebrity
I remember
reflector?
reading about, not really. They're
Okay.
like Sandra Bullock, which isn't a very good reference. But I remember reading about you being a projector and being like, oh, he's a filmmaker. He like projects things out into the world.
Yeah,
Literally through
Easy.
film. Like, that's funny.
easy peasy,
That's funny.
easy peasy, Kanye.
See, that's probably another funny language that you could use to try and understand what friends you have, too, you know? And a lot of times I think we have the friends, like, we call them in that way, but, like, a lot of times the friends you meet or you make are it's like, oh, you're going to help me with this work. And maybe it's work on a work plane. Maybe it's work on a sexual plane. Maybe it's work on, like, a therapy plane or reparenting plane or art plane or so many
work to be
planes
done.
to be done.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of work to be done.
Yeah.
But it's usually that.
I've definitely gotten
Like
hip to
others'
that.
work.
That we got like, oh, I got to do work with you.
Yeah.
Or Sean needs to do work with you, and that's
Yeah.
not my business. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Right.
Like, kind of like, you know,
Right.
oh, you guys have work to do together, or I got work to do, or we got to fucking work this out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, I think at different places in your life, you need different things, and I just think about like the whole lot of new friends we made post like doing the space camp thing, like, you know, for the first time. All of our new friends, like the ones that stuck are the ones that make me laugh, and that's just kind of what I needed coming out of an isolated quarantine or whatever. And so, like, this crop of people I expose myself to, 50 or 100 people, and, like, say, like, 8 or 10 of them have become our close friends. That's the thing they have in common, because that's where my frequency was tuned to at the time. I wanted to make people laugh, and I wanted people to make me laugh.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other people that wanted to get into all kinds of other stuff, and I'm totally down for that. But at the
Right.
time, that's not what I was really, you know, vibing on for, like, my day-to-day. And who are my friends going to be? Who am I going to
Location's
surround
super
myself with?
important too. Like situational. Like a lot of friendships are situational, and that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
I think circumstances and situation and coming together is like kind of what's up. You know, like let's make heaven on earth together.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. That's got to be the goal. I mean, remember when I was, I just had one friend who would just come over and smoke weed with me.
Evan?
Yeah. My boy. My first friend in Greenpoint. You know, my age. We're a week apart. And, you know, he went down the path of, like, having a wife and a kid.
Yeah.
But we would still smoke weed together, and it was always controversial.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I want to make heaven on earth together. I want to take this deeper, but, like, you know, my
Yeah.
only friend is a guy who, like, has to be home at 10:45 and has to
Right.
sneak around and has to spray himself with all this shit because he smoked weed and she can't smell it or something.
Yeah.
You know. So.
I've gone through periods of being really lucky and very unlucky, it feels like, with friends. I've had a couple periods where I had like really close tribal friend groups, specifically like in Colorado and Hawaii. And then had periods of like where I was mainly isolated friend-wise, because I felt like I didn't have people that really resonated with me. But even in that, like, I'm so social at my job, it didn't really ever feel that isolated, probably until COVID, you know?
Yeah.
Felt like, God, like, I have a lot of friends, you know?
But then COVID happens and everyone realized, like,
Well, I stopped working as much,
Yeah.
too, and
Yeah.
so I'm just around less people, so it feels like, yeah, less acquaintances and friends and stuff.
It's also very revealing when you switch it up and you see who sticks around. Like, if you quit drinking or quit doing,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
doing whatever, it's,
Yeah.
you know.
And moving, like, you know,
Mhm.
I talk to Monica still like every week and stuff, and there's people you stay in touch with when you move.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people you just don't, you let go of because
Yeah.
whatever, your work was circumstantial, you know.
Most of my friends are better friends than I am because like I'm not that good at like keeping in touch, you know?
Yeah.
So it's either the friends who like we can go a long time without talking and it's like nothing's changed.
Right.
And those are the people I stay friends with, or the people who are like a little bit better about like making an effort, you know? Because like
Right.
I'm down to hang out. I just like and don't necessarily make the effort. Doesn't mean I don't want to. It's not a natural inclination. Because I'm like my mom said, like when I was a kid, she could just sit me in a corner. I would just sit there. So it's like I'm not always trying to change things.
Yeah.
I'm more like, all right, like this is where I'm at. I'm just gonna try to like it. I think. I don't know.
It's kind of interesting because the predominant energy in both of our charts is cardinal, which is initiation energy. And this whole time you've kind of been talking about like a struggle with initiation.
Mm.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I think initiating is scary for everyone. I think it's scary on every level. You know, it's like the masculine energy we talked about in the girls podcast. It's like taking up sexual space. It's like being the one to initiate, you know, that or conversation or vulnerability or, you know, to be the first, to be the fool, you know.
But like my human design is to respond. Like if I try to initiate, it doesn't go well for me. Like like it literally says in my human design, like don't try to initiate things.
Just respond.
Remember when we would try to get Cass to do the intros to the come
They're the
up?
best
They are, but like it's a
R.I.P.
great example of what she's talking about. You know what I mean? Like she'd be like, but meanwhile, if one of us started it, she could drop right into like what the vibe of the rest of the show is going to be. You know?
Yeah. So I think basically if anyone wants to figure out their human design, you can just like Google human design and then put in your birth date and time. It's super easy. And then there's certain sites that you can see like the channels that are connected and whether you have like a closed or an open heart and it just like informs
that's
a lot.
cool.
And I think it's kind of worked for me and against me because you guys have understood like, oh, Cass is just going to say no to things first. I think I have a channel that like has me kind of like I say no first and then I come around. But it's like doesn't make you any less irritated when I say no. It just kind of like
Yeah.
But it's kind of a pattern.
Is that in your human design? Obviously.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, all this stuff is just like overlays on the human experience that maybe could help you, you know, navigate things a little bit better. Just some more information. Help soften this experience for you.
New lenses.
Yeah, it's a lens. It's like a language.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it can be helpful. Self-understanding or understanding your partner, giving them a little more space or patience to say no.
Spatience.
Spatience.
Everyone needs to offer their partner more spatience. And offer it to yourself.
Yeah.
Spatience, my friend. It's a very high quality. You know? Spatience.
Hey, spatience.
That's going to get thrown around more.
Well, I mean, it's like, give me space and offer me patience, and I will give you the same.
Yeah.
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 Spatience. It's a new word. Oh my God. Have we had enough? Are you guys enough?
Yeah, this was great.
Yeah, this was good.
Let's leave them hopefully wanting more.
If you want more, go to patreon.com/churchchill. There's a bunch of Church Chill episodes, which is our music show. And a whole bunch of bonus episodes of this here podcast, including the first episode of Girls Club.
It's a doozy.
It's embarrassing that we haven't done it until now.
I know.
We just spiral around each other.
Yeah, spiraling around. And, you know, while you're at it, don't sleep on Boys Club, which is also on patreon.com/churchchill. That's me and Joey. Boys Club will have other guests, but so far me and Joey are carrying the torch. It's just boys being boys.
Well, you could have Guys Club, too, with maybe someone else.
Guys Club. Just guys being guys. Guys Club would be great. I wonder who would be a good co-host for Guys Club.
Are we going to have a women's club?
You guys just show up.
Ladies Club?
Yeah.
Ladies club?
Gals Club?
What about Harlot Club?
Ooh, little harlots.
I have an outfit for that one.
Ooh, I would like to see the little harlot hour.
Well, my first idea
Live
for the
in
girls'
jacuzzi.
Yeah, my first idea was we were going to do it from the jacuzzi, and that kind of...
It's too hot in there.
I realized it would be too hot after like 10 seconds.
Yeah. These aren't the kind of mics you can wear in a jacuzzi and broadcast, so I don't know what would be good for that. Maybe these are perfect for a jacuzzi broadcast.
We need to get wireless ones.
Yeah. But you got to figure out how to blur things, too.
Yeah.
A more appropriate podcast for us would be from the sauna, live from the sauna.
Live from the sauna.
'Cause we're
we
in
could
there
do
for
a
like an
sauna
hour.
boys session if we did that.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Oh man.
Ooh, up.
Bop, do up, do da ba do up, da ba do.
Yeah.
Bop, bop, ba do. Ba do. Damn, I feel this microdose. Microdose.
Peace, love, and
All right.
magic.
Peace, y'all.